Good afternoon, and this is Education Telescope on Leadership TV. I am your host, Mariam Rabiu. Today's topic of discussion will be examination malpractice is a major issue that is posing serious problem in the Nigerian educational system. How do we tackle the menace of examination malpractice in Nigerian educational institutions? In the second segment, an in-house analyst in person of Harriet Yohemba will be joining us to review this topic and talk more about examination malpractice in our institutions. But before then, here are the news updates. NUC says 75 universities have been licensed within 6 years. The National University Commission (NUC) says it approved and licensed 75 universities in the past 6 years as part of federal government policy to ensure access to university education. Executive Secretary of NUC, Professor Abubakar Rashid, who disclosed this in Abuja at a media parley with education correspondents on Wednesday, said 10 federal universities, 15 states, and 50 private universities were approved during the period. Rashid disclosed that there are currently 220 universities in the country, 50 federal, 59 states, and 111 private, and that many more licenses are being processed. He noted that NUC brought together professors from universities and industry players to participate in making inputs on the skills required by the industry to meet the need of society before coming up with the curriculum. University of Abuja unveils mentorship program for new students. The University of Abuja has unveiled a mentorship scheme to help new students understand their roles in the university and ensure they succeed after graduation. The mentorship scheme, which is being run by the Center for Student Mentoring and Employment of the university, is aimed at developing and preparing the career of students to impact on the society. The Vice Chancellor, who was represented by Professor Bello Ayuba, commended the students for massively attending the program. He advised the students to always live above board and be good to themselves, as well as continue to fly the institution high wherever they find themselves. National Open University of Nigeria staff, others win International Science Communication Awards. A communication scholar in the Department of Mass Communication of the National Open University of Nigeria, Dr. Nathan Oguche Emmanuel, has won the 2021 Science Communication Award presented by Conversation Africa, a South African research-based communication outfit. This year's award is the Conversation Africa's second annual West Africa Science Communication Awards, where researchers and partner universities are awarded based on the number of contributions and leadership generated by their researchers. Emmanuel, along with his co-authors, Dr. Hashim Suleiman Mohammed of the Department of Mass Communication, Ahmadu Bello University, and Dr. Jeva Valumun Celestine of the Department of Mass Communication, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, were awarded with the most read piece. Atiku pledges to clear backlogs of lecturer salaries. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has pledged to clear the backlog of salaries owed to the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU) if elected president. Atiku said his administration would ensure that universities are paid directly whatever money is due to them, vowing to remove all administrative bottlenecks. Speaking during the People's Town Hall meeting, Atiku promised to increase educational allocations. He promised to increase the funding level as against what is currently obtainable because he is a firm and committed believer in education. And that is all on news update. Thank you for staying tuned. And please stay tuned because we'll be going on our second segment where we'll be discussing the effects of exam malpractice in Nigerian institutions, where an in-house analyst, Harriet Yohemba, will be joining us to make this analysis. We'll go on a short break and we'll be back. Please stay tuned.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 08036886158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Hello there, welcome back and thank you for staying tuned. This is the second segment of Education Telescope on Leadership TV. And as I said earlier, an in-house analyst, Heriti Ohemba, will be joining us to review a topic about how to tackle examination malpractice in Nigerian institutions. Good afternoon, Henry,
Thank you, Mary.
and thank you for coming back.
Thank you.
Stakeholders advocate stringent punishment against examination malpractice. Stakeholders in the education sector have called for stringent measures on perpetrators of examination malpractice in order to stop the ugly trend. The call was made during a one-day national sensitization workshop organized by the National Examination Council (NECO) in collaboration with the National Assembly to sensitize Nigerians on the effects of examination malpractice. Examination malpractice is a major issue that is posing serious problem in the Nigerian educational system. We all know that. How do we address this issue? How do we tackle this issue?
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for another day for coming here to discuss about some of the issues on the education sector in the country. As you have said, examination malpractice there is no doubt that examination malpractice is one of the issues that has been posing serious threat in the education industry and the nation in general. The implication of examination malpractice on the country or on the student are frightening and devastating, given the fact that it can affect the foundation of any educational system in the country. And as well, so you have rightly said, the examination malpractice in Nigeria is something that has been on the increase and is having a serious effect on the education system in the country. And I think there is a need for all hands to be to come together to be on the same desk to ensure that this issue has been put to rest. As we talk, there seems to be an increase of examination malpractice in the country of the recent. I've heard a few days ago where the West African Examination Council WAEC delisted about 61 secondary schools in Kogi State, which have been accused of indulging in one form of examination malpractice or the other. And this issue seems to be on the increase for the past few years. And there are so many actors of so many factors that have influenced the increase of this examination malpractice. And the students, the teachers, and the parents alike are not excluded. For instance, when we talk about the schools, they have played one or two roles in ensuring that this trend has been on the increase in the past few years. Let's talk about WAEC, for instance. WAEC official fee registration for each candidate is just about 23,000, but the school principals are charging 40,000, unlike the National Examination Council's NECO. Their official fee, registration fee is just about 18,000, but the school principals are charging 40 to 60,000. And when you ask why they are charging this certain amount, they will tell you that because of logistics. And when you want to interpret this logistics they are using, logistics is a kind of a corporation fee that students pay, bearing in mind that at the end of the whole thing, the schools and in line with the supervisor will facilitate their process. So this money they are paying is not the fee that the examination bodies are charging, but the fee that will be used to settle the principals, to settle the supervisors or any person that partake in the examination malpractice to help teach the students so that they will come up in flying colors in an illegal manner. So I think it's something that all the stakeholders will need to come together to ensure that this has been put to rest. If not, is having a serious impact on the education system in the country.
A lot of people have been hearing about examination malpractice, but some don't know what this examination malpractice is, and they don't know that examination malpractice comes in many forms. So, what are the forms of examination malpractice that people do, and they don't know that this is examination malpractice?
I think, to my own understanding, examination malpractice comes in different forms, and examination generally malpractice generally happens within and outside the examination hall. That means there are some certain things that happen before the student even go into examination hall itself, but they are still under examination malpractice. But I want to specifically talk about the three major forms of examination malpractice, which happens at the stage of electronic or digital forms of examination malpractice. We also have what we call physical form of examination malpractice, and it may seem funny, but people has been using it over time, the spiritual form of examination malpractice. So when we talk about this electronic or digital, since the emergence of technology has helped to uh, cube so many things, and at the same time it's having a negative effect on the way people teach in exams. For instance, there are some students that before the examination they have a culture of using mobile phones. No matter how you try that, there are going to be checks and checks. They will sneak in with the mobile phones. Some use specialized watches. Some use different kind of radio or different kind of technological tools that even the supervisors themselves are not aware, and the course may end up teaching the exam. Then we also talk about the physical form of examination malpractice, which involves, these are things that appear to be physical, which involves student writing answers on paper, just like the paper you have here. They write and squeeze and hide inside whatever they
Or
can
right
hide
on
inside
their
the hall.
body.
Yes, or write on their body. These are the physical form of exam malpractice that we're talking about. Then we also talk about the spiritual form of examination malpractice, which seems to be funny, but it's happening on so many occasions. A situation whereby students will not have time to study or purposely refuse to study, but at the end of the whole thing, he want to get an A in the course. Some of them go to an extra mile of getting charms from all these babalawos with the aim, with the promise that the charm will help them to have a good retentive memory. And I have one similar instance whereby a student in one particular miracles center in a particular village somewhere used charms against their own supervisor. I don't know how they were able to achieve that, but the supervisor through the whole course of the exam of over 3 hours was sleeping on the decks. So the student have access to do whatever they wanted to do in that particular exam hall. So these are the three major forms of exam malpractice. And talking about this form just emanate, there are different levels that these forms of examination malpractice came about. For, they came at the level of pre-examination and during the examination and post-examination. This pre-examination, these are the certain forms of examination malpractice that take place before the examination. That means the student have enough time to prepare. He know what he want to achieve, so he have enough time to prepare even before the exam. So this takes place at a level or situation whereby a student meet the supervisor, arrange a package. Let me use a way package for him. Under the promise that if you help me excel in this exam, I will say to you, or even say to them before going to the exam hall. They also have a way of arranging, or some people have a way of establishing what we call miracle centers or ghost centers, whereby the essence of those centers strictly is to carry out exam malpractice. We also talk about the form during the exam malpractice during the exam process. And I think this is the form of the level of exam malpractice I want to lay much emphasis, because it happens at a certain level. This particular one involves students, supervisors, and parents. For instance, when we talk about exam malpractice level during the examination process, we have a situation whereby or student will hire thugs, especially if you are being in the rural communities, you understand what I'm talking about. Student will hire thugs in the course of examination to
Yes.
threaten the supervisors. If you don't cooperate with us, we have some situation where a supervisor was even beaten.
Yes, I've had several
Yes,
stories
so
about
this
that.
issue has been trending. Then we have a situation whereby the schools, the students themselves, the supervisors come together to perpetrate this act. Under what I describe as a mass cheating. Under this
Is it
mass,
that the lecturers are paid? They get paid by the students to
the,
carry out the task together.
no. Some, let me not even use the word student generally, but sometimes a particular student may decide to hire a particular gang that he belongs to.
Okay.
It's not that all the students come up together.
Okay.
But the one I'm more interested in is the mass teaching. So this mass teaching covers the students themselves, the supervisors, the parents. This mass teaching involves, there was a situation that happened in my community. I don't want to mention the name of the community, whereby in those like early 2016, whereby exam was being written, the malpractice was in such a form that it's being written on the chalkboard for student to copy. So that means the supervisor has been said to, or he has been convinced to buy into the idea. The parents are aware, the students are aware. So the teacher or the expert in the field will have the question paper We have an expert who is so vibrant on the subject and will be solving, if it is mathematics, they will be solving live on the board, and the student will be there copying. Then there's another phone they will use, which is called detection. The student will be, the expert will be detecting the answers to the before this question, but that one has an implication because not every student, especially in the rural setting, has that capacity to write what the supervisor. Perhaps some students who even in SS3 cannot even write and write. So that form of exam malpractice was not permitted. Then they advanced to a level when most of the school were using photocopier. Instead of writing on the board again, they will not write on the board. They will now have an expert who solve the question like you have it here, and then they will just take it to
The exam
photocopy and photocopy. And if, for instance, you have like 200 students in an exam hall, it will be easier to use 2 minutes and, or let me say 5 minutes, and photocopy all those questions that sent to the student for them to copy. Then talking about the last one, we also have examination malpractice at the level of post, that is post malpractice examination, which happen at the end of the exam. You know, there's a way where in Nigeria, no matter how you try to do corruption, they will find one or two ways to carry out their what they want to do. So at this level of post exam malpractice, this also involves the parents, the supervisors or invigilators, because this normally happens at the level when the examination has been already finished. And we have some situation where our supervisor will see exam for instance, in an exam hall, we cover everything to take it to WAEC and say this is sport. And you are thinking that there's no way these people can teach again, but the examination malpractice still happening at that level. The situation whereby people will arrange with the supervisor, they will give them an extra exam booklet outside. Even sometimes this happen at a level where even the school authorities are not even aware. They will just carry this out with the supervisor themselves, or using an internal or maybe a teacher within the school. They will give them an extra booklet outside. They will give it to somebody who they have hired from outside, who is an expert on the field, who will write for the student that no matter what happens, you'll be able to get an A. Then at the end of the examination, the student is already in the hall, just pretending as if he's writing. There is nothing he's putting down. Then at the end of the whole exam, they will go and meet the supervisor somewhere, and they will trace the particular number of that student, remove the original script, put it aside, and bring in the outside one. So these forms of examination, these things has been happening, and they are being on the increase, even though there are measures being tried to put in place by the federal government to kill them, but they have been escalating at the level that I think there is something that we need to go an extra mile to ensure that this thing has been put to the growth.
Examination malpractice has reached an extent that it is affecting students academically. A student cannot do anything without malpractice. You cannot write an assignment. You cannot even use your head to do anything. You just have to look for something. Assignment is even okay. You can decide to browse somewhere to get assignment, but examination, you cannot even answer one question without having to do exam malpractice. The chairman, Senate Committee on Basic and Secondary Education in Upper Ibom State, said exam malpractice is destroying the credibility of the educational system, and called for collective action to curb the menace before it results in total damage to the system. What are these actions that can be taken to stop examination malpractice according to the chairman? What do you think people can do to stop this examination? Because no matter how you try, I don't believe they can totally stop examination malpractice. I believe so. So what are these actions that they can take that other students will see as a lesson to them?
Okay, first of all, before I talk about some of these factors, let me directly address the issue of about the student themselves. Because as I'm talking to you, all of us who are at one or certain stage
We are
in life,
still learning.
we are still learning, and I'm still a student myself. And I could tell you my own experience where I just finished writing the exam recently with National Open University of Nigeria, where I know very well that no matter what happens, I'm going to get an F, because I didn't have time to study. There was no time for me to study. I didn't even have time to attend classes, and I could not indulge in such kind of trying to demean myself to teach in an exam. So the best way, what I wrote, there's no way I'm going to get an, even if you call the same, there's no way I'm going to get an.
That's
Even and because I didn't write anything on that booklet, but I will still advise Nigerian students, there is, for you to be a fail or to fail a course or something that you are a bad student, one or two issues may happen that you may be unable to pass a particular course. But there is no harm if you register that course and come back the following day and get prepared where to write that particular course and pass. So you are talking about how we can be able to
Cop.
curb
Yes.
the exam malpractice. That's it. First of all, there should be a constant enlightenment, or let me say periodic enlightenment from the exam bodies like the West African Examination Councils and the National Examination Council (NECO). There should be continuous campaign against the ills of examination malpractice in Nigeria. And let me even use this opportunity and comment what NECO in particular is doing. NECO since the beginning of this year has been carrying out sensitization programs across the country aimed at curbing the exam malpractice in Nigeria. And the recent one just took place in Abuja just a few days ago, where all the stakeholders, including the chairman, Senate committee, secondary education
Yes.
house committee, also all the major stakeholders they have been really doing a lot to ensure that this particular trend
Act is
has
being
been come to an end. Then
yes.
let me also talk about the issue of technology. I think federal government should ensure to deploy or help some of the schools, all these schools deploy technology in their various or respective schools so as to, because technology is one of the easiest way that can be helped to curb this ugly trend.
Just is it like cameras? Are you talking
Yeah,
about
thank you.
cameras, CCTV
I'm talking about
cameras?
the CCTV cameras,
Yes, in
something
every
like the
class.
biometric. What do we call it? Like the Nigerian. I think it's a biometric or something of that nature,
Mm,
which uses to detect facial detection.
yes,
So with that, those who impersonate for others will be
yes, yes.
easy to
Mm,
identify them. Then we talk about the CCTV camera, so that even if what transpired behind at the back door,
yes,
you'll be able to review it after and know one or two things about them.
yes,
I think there should be a better welfare packages for teachers, because when you motivate these teachers, they will have that zeal to take the student to an extra mile. But the situation whereby teachers are being owed for months, I don't think they will have any zeal. Let's even take practical example of what is happening in the tertiary institution, whereby teachers have been on strike since February or
mm,
March. They just suspended the strike in August, and federal government refused to pay them for the 10 months or about 8 months they have
mm,
been on strike. So we have been having so many issues. We have here cases whereby students have lectures and they invite the lecturer through their post rep to come for the lecture, and the lecturer say that he don't have transport to come to the lecture, or he's hungry. They have been saying this, and it's happening in the
a
yes,
lecturer
a lecturer.
saying he doesn't have
He
transport to
doesn't have
come,
transport to
or
come to
he's
class,
hungry.
or he's hungry. It seems to be funny, but it's happening. I think, and that kind of lecturer, even if you force him or convince him to come to
Mm,
class, you don't expect him to give the best to the student. And the end result will be that student will not have any option, because at the end of the whole thing, he will still say the same question that he
mm,
would have been said if you put them through the process. Student will not have any other choice than to indulge in
mm.
these kind of activities to be able to
These things
pass
that
the
you are
course.
saying, I think even lecturers and teachers have a major role to play in exam malpractice, because you know that if you check exam questions, some release questions that they haven't even taught in class.
Yes, yes,
They want the student to go. Okay, I know it's a good thing for you to go through your curriculum or your scheme of work to go and learn ahead of your lecturer. But then, why will you set question in an exam that you haven't taught in class? Of course, what do you expect the student to do? They will have to indulge in examination
sure.
malpractice before they don't know anything about that topic. So our lecturer should also try
That
to
is
make
what I
sure they
said
go
exactly.
through their full curriculum before examination to avoid issues like this.
Yes.
So what are the factors responsible for examination malpractice? I know one of the basic factors that students will always tell you is that they did not give them enough time to read. That is the main thing. If you ask a student, why did you do this? You tell that the lecturer didn't give him enough time to read or to prepare. Or the lecturers, exactly what I just said earlier, the lecturer sets question that they weren't taught in class. That is. So what are other factors that are responsible?
Well, apart from what you say, I think it's one of the main factors
Mm,
that they have, or let me say, aiding the continuation of exam malpractice across institutions in the country. But aside that, I think we have other factors which are playing very important role in this particular perspective. And first, I want to talk about the issue of poor learning facilities across schools.
mm,
If you run across a public institution in the country, from secondary school to tertiary institution, and let me even lay focus on the secondary school, you discover that schools are facing a lot of challenges, especially the public schools. Some of them don't have the labs, some of them don't have the libraries.
mm.
Students do not have time to go and study of their own. The
To make
environment itself is not
researches.
conducive. The,
Yes.
the classrooms are overcrowded, And at the end of the whole thing, so many students have been, this has been affecting so many students negatively. At the end of the day, these students want to pass because going by the course of things in town, and I know how much somebody, for instance, you have two kids who are in SS3 and you are going to register them both for WAEC and NECO, and the schools are telling you 60,000, 50,000 for two of them. That means you are going to spend over 200,000 for the two students. And some of these parents are not working. Some of them are farmers. Some of them are mini traders.
Yes.
To raise that 200,000, you may think it's not an easy stuff. So it has been happening at that level. And I think the poor learning facilities, the student will want to do anything to ensure that they come up in flying colors so that they will not waste time again to go and register for that particular course. Aside that, I think we still have the issue of shortage of manpower and, let me say, subject teachers. To go to some of the public schools, we discovered that a mathematics teacher, for instance, will be taking SS1 to SS3, and each class will be having up to 60, 70. I'm specifically talking about the public schools. This is not prominent in private schools. But the community public schools, if you go there, you will see what I'm talking about yourself. So that one child will be handling SS1 to SS3. In a week or in a day, you have more than 7 lessons you are going to attend. And in each class, you have more than up to 60, 70 students. You don't expect that kind of teacher to give a due attention to those students. He will just be trying to cover up his duty so that at the end of the whole thing, they will pay his salary. So at the end, the consequences will be on the student because they will not have enough time to learn from the teacher, or the teacher will not have enough time to give them the best, and they may not have any other alternative than to indulge in some of these activities to try and pass or get a better grade. Then another issue I want to talk about is the issue of industrial strike, like we have mentioned before. In our academics calendar in a special tertiary institution in the country now, you see that students are passing through a lot. For instance, ASO has been on strike for over 8 months. ASO just suspended their strike in August, and so most of the school resumed. I have one of the students studying public university, federal university in the country, but they resumed the whole of that month. That was on September. No lecturer came to their class. We are in October. Maybe sometime, the schedule in the teacher institution. Sometimes you have your schedule, and sometimes in the whole month, a lecture will be having like 2 or 3 lectures. The first one, he just came to give you an outline. The second one, he may came to maybe brief you about the content of the whole course. And he may even have 1 or 2 lectures that is going to put you through the real process. At the end of that, he start giving assessment. You discover that the student do not even have any time to learn. And the next thing that they are confronted with exam. Just like what we are saying now. Some students, they resume and they didn't have any time to learn. They just have 2 or 3 weeks to learn. And when they come back by next year, they are going to confront exam. So such kind of student will do anything to make sure that they write and pass.
Yes. So we've talked about the consequences of examination malpractice, but we need more consequences for people to know. One of the consequences I know is if you cheat during an exam, you will later not know anything about that particular course. For example, if I am writing an exam now and all the questions there, I cheated just to get the answers. Next time, maybe after my exam, someone can decide to ask me something about that particular course, and I'll tell you I don't know. Meanwhile, I already wrote the exam. Then how did I pass the exam without even knowing anything about it? Because I cheated. So it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you in any way. Because if you cheat, after your school, maybe you are working somewhere, you've already gotten a job, you are working, and they ask you something concerning that particular course, you now tell them you don't know. Then how did you pass? That's one of the consequences that exam malpractice has on students. I don't know if you have more consequences to tell us.
I think I don't have much, but the other one I will talk about the issue of wastage, or let me say producing half-baked graduate, because we have instances in this country whereby people have alleged that so many graduates cannot write their name, cannot defend what they have taught in school. It's one of the consequences of exam malpractice. You allow these people to pass through the process that they cannot defend themselves. We have situations whereby students cannot. We have so many issues of building collapse in the country. People who study engineering in school do not know what they study because they maneuver their way to pass through that process. They give you a fake exam that at the end of the whole thing you have the issue of building collapse. You have also issue of wastage whereby parents and the government alike spend thousands of money to registering the student. At the end they fail and you have to register again, wasting the country's resources. So there are so many issues, but for the sake of time, I will just round up at this moment.
All right, thank you very much, Henry.
Thank you.
We have come to the end of today's edition of Education Telescope on Leadership TV. And as usual, I am your host, Mariam Rabiu, and with me has been Henry Tiohemba. See you next week, same time, same day. Bye for now.